Hi everyone, my name is Aayush Jain. I'm a senior product manager with American Express, and I'm very excited to be here today at this webinar. I look forward to interacting with all of you. Today, I'll be talking about developing a product mindset. I'll also go over a few examples. This is a very important topic, not only for product managers, but for engineers, sales manager, pretty much anyone in a tech company. All right, let's get started. This is my agenda. I will first, give a quick intro about me. I will then talk about the definition of product mindset. I will then talk about design thinking. And finally, I will talk about user empathy. That's a very important topic. Okay. So, as I mentioned, I'm a product manager. I have almost a decade of product management experience. I was actually lucky to get into product management right after my engineering. Most people get into product management after their MBA, but I got into it straight after my engineering. I write weekly on product management at my blog, ayushjain.com, and I'm also on Twitter. I'll be happy to connect. This is my journey. I just wanted to, showcase that as well. I graduated from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign as a computer science engineer. During my senior year, I decided to focus on product management. In fact, I was lucky to also intern as a product manager during my time at college. After that, I got my first job as a business analyst at Standard & Poor's New York. Business analyst was basically a junior product manager in that company. Then I had a startup phase where I was hired as the first product manager at a startup in New York. And finally, I'm currently a senior product manager at American Express, leading a team of my own product owners. Okay, so let's get to the main agenda of the meeting. Product mindset. What does it mean to have the mindset of a product manager? The first and foremost, the most important thing is that everyone should take ownership of whatever they're doing. I know everyone says this a lot, but think of it from the point of view of a product manager. You literally are the owner of your little piece of the world, the product. Take complete ownership. Don't assume things. No matter what you're building, someone or something has already been built that is very similar to what you're doing right now. That's my second point. Research your competition. The more we research, the more we find out the pros and cons of similar products, and the more we can innovate. Third, this is very important for people who are junior or just new hires in a company. Voice your ideas. There is no such thing as a bad idea. Don't be afraid to speak up. If you think you have a point to make it. If you're not comfortable talking about it in a group setting, talk to someone privately. But make sure you voice your opinions, voice your ideas. And this also goes for senior people. It is the job of senior product managers to encourage junior people, no matter who they are. They could be a test engineer, a salesperson, anyone. It is the job of a senior product manager to seek feedback. Get feedback on your app, on your website, on whatever you're doing. If you don't get feedback, you don't know what you're doing. If you just talk to your 5 friends or your 5 people who've been working on that product, the feedback will be biased. Go out in the world and talk to random people who may or may not be using that product. Get the feedback. Finally, think about the product as a whole. Sometimes If there are different product managers who have different pieces to work on, they sometimes do not look at the big picture. This is also true for engineers. A lot of time people are just bothered about their individual piece of code or their individual bug. Don't just worry about an individual job. Think about the entire product as a whole and see where your work fits in. That is the meaning of product mindset. To quote Bill Gates, in 3 years, every product my company makes will be obsolete. The only question is whether we will make them obsolete or somebody else will. Think about that for a moment. This is the meaning of product mindset. You know that whatever you build will go, out of business or will be obsolete. Keep on thinking about what to do, how better can you improve your product. No matter what your position is, like I said, it is your job to voice your ideas. If you think XYZ can be built or a new feature can be built that will improve the product, give it a new life, speak it out. Let's take an example. This is a very important example, and I want everyone to focus on this and share their opinions. Let's say there is a product requirement at an online healthcare startup. The product manager has been given a very important and a very urgent requirement. This is a high priority request that has come in. Here's the request. Urgent need to build a chatbot. It must be able to handle a large number of customer queries. It must be able to categorize and store queries based on chat keywords. Let us say this is the requirement that has been given to a product manager or a team. What is the first thing that you do? This is a very important project and it has a very tight deadline. What do? Think about it. Do you rush into it? Your boss is pressuring you, you go into it, no questions asked. You will ask some questions, but what do you want to focus on? Let's take a quick look at the requirements first. Look at the words in red. Those are red flags for anyone to take a step back. Urgent need, must be able. Those are requirements coming from a user or from a business owner. It is the job of a product manager to understand what need is this solving. Can that need be solved in any other way? Is the chatbot the only way? These are some of the questions that you need to answer before you embark on your journey. And yes, it could be a tight deadline, but you still need to spend some time on it. You don't have to spend weeks or months on it, but take out whatever time you can from the deadline, but answer some of these questions first. On my next slide, I'll talk about those questions. Take a step back. Why are we building it? Most important question that people just assume is, answered. It may not be. Everyone on the team should know the answer to this question. What is the query volume through different complaint channels? Is the chatbot even worth the effort? Does a similar volume exist for our competitors? What are they doing it? How are they solving it? Has A/B testing proved this to be more useful than other channels? In this particular industry, do people feel comfortable talking to a chatbot? Is the target audience familiar with this technology, or do they prefer phone calls? Understand the target audience. Does our competition have something similar? Very important questions for anyone, not just the product manager, anyone to be aware of and make sure they have the answers before working on this product. All right, moving on. Design thinking, a very important topic, and some people, especially who are not from a product background, do not take to do not make too many efforts to understand this. Very important to balance the UI UX component of a product and the technical details of a product. Very often, as a product manager, you will face competing priorities, competing interests. On the one side, you will face a lot of pressure to build a beautiful UI UX that solves your users' needs or goes beyond that. On the other hand, you will face pressure from your development team, the engineers, who will talk about the technical feasibility. Balance those competing pressures. Think of the overall product as one single design. Make sure whatever you do fits into that overall design and is not something out of the blue that is completely alien to your product. Next, don't over engineer. Build in small iterations, go out, get it tested, see what the feedback is, and then come back. You don't have to obviously go with a big bang approach where you engineer or solve for every single use case. I'll come to that in a bit. Focus on the big picture. It's easier said than done. Many people, all of us in fact, sometimes get too involved in the minute details of a product, and sometimes we forget the big picture. In those moments, it is important for us to remind ourselves of the big picture. Use case. Solve for the use case. What does this mean? You will have hundreds, if not thousands, of use cases to solve for. And obviously, you can't solve for everything. There will be edge cases that will be too unimportant or too lower down in the priority to solve. You will have to pick and choose. All of us do. And how do you do it? We gather feedback. We listen to our customers. We do a lot of brainstorming sessions. We talk to internal teams, the salespeople, the engineers, the QA engineers, everyone. What are the most important use cases for a product? Sometimes there will be pressure to solve for a weird edge case. Maybe your boss has encountered that edge case while testing out the product and they want you to solve for it. Be careful, don't fall into those traps. The product cannot solve for every single use case. The edge cases need to be kept up. That is, very important from a design thinking perspective. Moving on. The guru of design. Design is a funny word. Some people think design means how it looks. But of course, if you dig deeper, it's really how it works. Take a moment to read this again. Nobody could have said this better than Steve Jobs. It's really how it works. Design is not about the color of your button, the color of your app, the website, whatever. It's how it works as a whole. Is the end-to-end flow beautiful, seamless, friendly, efficient? Is the entire product robust? All of that is a part of the design. All right, moving on. Everyone knows these two phones. What many people may not know is that these two phones came out in the same year. Think about that. Both of these phones were launched in the same year. Look at the difference in the designs. Would you say one phone is superior to the other technologically? Maybe yes, maybe no. All of us know the answer to which phone became more popular. even if it was technically inferior, which I'm not saying it was. The important thing was it was a beautiful design in and out. Moving on. All right. Last but not the least, user empathy. Very important, especially for product managers. Understand the target audience. We cannot emphasize this enough. Sometimes we get requirements and we build them without understanding the target audience. We don't even know if they will use the platform or not. We need to know answers to those questions. We need to go out in the field, do our research, get on video calls, talk to people, have them play around with the prototype. But you must understand the target audience. Even if you're a junior product manager, anyone, engineer, QA person, anyone, request the senior product manager or anyone on your team to get on a call. Your product manager may already be having client calls, and you can easily request that person to invite you to those calls as well. I am sure the product manager will be happy to invite you. It is very important for everyone to understand the target audience. Next, embrace the Kano model. The Kano model is a beautiful, representation of user needs. I will come to that in a bit. Get direct user feedback. This may not be possible for every use case or every engineer, but at a high level, for everyone, this should be definitely a goal. Get feedback. For a product manager, it's especially important to get feedback on every little thing. But for an engineer or a junior product manager, they can definitely seek feedback from the senior product managers. Be the solution, not the problem. It sounds funny, but it's true. Sometimes people always have this habit of pushing back on things. If you feel something need not be done or cannot be done, there are ways of saying it. Quantify your opinion using data. Say why something is better than something else. Lay out the options, list down the pros and cons. Finally, the decision may not be yours, which is fine. If it's something that the company wants to do, your boss wants to do, that's fine. If the final decision is something needs to be done, get it done. Make sure your doubts are clarified, but be the solution, not the problem. Finally, and very importantly, don't fall into the marginal utility trap. What does that mean? We sometimes try to make sure the product is perfect before releasing it. It's never going to be perfect. You will never solve your bugs, all of your bugs. At some point, you will have to make sure that this is good enough. This is my MVP, my minimum viable product, and I want to release it. That decision should be taken by everyone. If a product manager feels the product is ready, the test engineers should not always come and say that, no, this is not ready. We should, test more. No, it doesn't work like that. It's everyone's job to not fall into the marginal utility trap. Moving on. All right, Kano model. This diagram may be too heavy, but I'll just walk everyone through this. The green line is your basic needs. The red line is the delighters. What feature in your product delights your users? Have you done some innovation that will truly wow your audience? It is important to build delighters in your products. Yes, you will solve for the basic needs, for the basic use cases. But you need to have that something extra to beat the competition. But be careful. Look at the blue box. Over time, delightful innovation becomes another basic need. It's true. What was amazing in a product last year will basically be a basic need this year. Look at your iPhones. Whatever new feature is launched in an iPhone the previous year will not obviously be the same delightful feature this year. People will come that expect that to be a normal thing. The competition will launch similar features. Therefore, every company needs to have a new feature that delights the audience. And over time, all the delighters become basic needs. So that is why you need constant innovation. Okay. This is, it's a very simple diagram and it, really summarizes the entire discussion. Where does the product mindset lie? Or where does the product manager lie? On the top, you have the business request. Then you have the tech feasibility. Then you have the user needs. The center is the sweet spot where the product management profession sits, where the product mindset lies. Everyone on a team needs to be in that center sweet spot. So that was it. I hope I was able to explain the concept of the product mindset to everyone. And I'll be happy to connect. Like I mentioned, I write weekly on product management at ayushjain.com. I'm also available on Twitter. So I'll be happy to connect. Thank you.